Hello, hello. Hope everyone is having an amazing day. So we are here. As you are walking through, we hope that you will be able to just tap in and be able to enjoy this unapologetic event for Women's History Month. So as we go into this final day of Women's History Month, we have a powerful, amazing panel of women who are going to be sharing their stories with you, who are going to be able to give you some insight on being unapologetic. As women, we're always apologizing for something. So today we're going to talk about the power of being unapologetic and what you do and where you go. So my name is Dr. Shirley McCoy, and I am the founder of Fit at Your Life. And it's an organization that helps leaders to lead and to serve from their overflow versus their seed. So I'm going to pass the mic down and have our other panelists to share.
Good afternoon. Happy Women's History Month. My name is Loretta Lofton Arnold. I am the founder of the L3 Agency, but I also host an award-winning podcast called Black Businesses Matter. It's on every platform or wherever you listen to podcasts. I will say that just as a rule of thumb, I had no idea how powerful women are until I realized when I get in a room with all women. So all I'm going to say is when we are in a room together, we are powerful. But I don't know that I discovered that as a little girl. But now that I know what I know, I want to be in a room with beautiful, brilliant women. So happy Women's History Month to all of you. Happy Women's Month, yes, and all year and every day, right? My name is Pamela Cook. I am the owner, president of Mosaic Experience, a consulting business where I have worked closely with Ms. Shamika down the road over here. And I just got to meet her fabulous mother over here, so I'm very happy to meet her family. We talked about being women, there's many parts of us, right? So being mothers, being business owners, all the things we do. And I just wrote a book. In fact, it's not out yet, but it is finished, a memoir called My Color. If you're interested in that, I have some brochures up there and some information here. But I'm excited and nervous in all the fields for that new endeavor. So I'm excited to be on this panel.
As our panelists continue to introduce themselves, we do have many of our panelists also have tables where they are selling products. And so after we finish the panel, we will be back in our spaces and you'll be able to come through and support the different spaces.
Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Women's Month. So we're getting ready to end. It never ends. It never ends, so we continue to support each other. I am May McCoy, and Sharmika's mother. She's my oldest and only daughter, and very beautiful young lady. She's very powerful and all that she put her hands to do by the grace of God. But I am retired. I've been retired for about 13 years, and by the grace of God, after being at my job for 38 years, I worked for Allstate Insurance Company. And I was in management, so I managed over 300 plus employees. So with 38 years, I was ready to come out. Wasn't at the age of retirement, but God blessed me to be able to retire early. I wanted to retire. I had already told my family, my friends, that I did not want to work past 60. My goal was to manage my finances and everything, and at 60, walk out. But because of a lot of layoffs and everything, I did not have a heart to lay off employees, so I told them to lay me off. So what I did is do my ticket and I retired. So my retirement went from me thinking I'm going to travel all over the world. God put me in this space to raise nine now grandchildren. So I've been raising my grandchildren since I was retired. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old that needs to hurry up and get to school. But I'm also a Mary Kay consultant. I've been a Mary Kay consultant for 19 years, and it's a pleasure. I love Mary Kay products. I've been given that, and one of my dreams and goals is what I do is I bless others with it. Whatever I do is a blessing. The nursing homes, the nurses, organizations, women's conferences, whatever I can do to help someone else out, that's what I do. So I thank God for it, and again, happy Women's Month.
I am Katrina Anderson by law, but my pen name that I write Black romance under is Katie. I taught business education for 20 years, and I too am not at the age of retirement. I just quit teaching. So that I could write full time. I will be celebrating my 8th year as an author in June. In that time, I've written 65-ish books, something around there. In that time, most of them are Black romance, but I do have some children's books and like workbooks, flashcards, coloring books, and things of that nature that I write. I publish those under Katrina Anderson. I have 2 adult children, and one of them is getting married in 18 days. Y'all, I'm so tired. I'm like, oh my God. So, but I just can't wait. First of all, I just want to keep my money, number one. But it's a time. Like, I got married almost 29 years ago, and I don't recall all of this. I don't know if it's different, but just if you have daughters, just good luck. You will. Prepare yourself.
All right, so I'm actually going to have you hold on to the microphone and have you start. So with the title of this event being Unapologetic, ladies, if you can say, what does being unapologetic mean to you in this season of your life? And what is one truth that you had to accept about yourself to go into who you are today? So what does being unapologetic mean in this season of life? And what is one truth that you had to accept about who you are today?
What does it mean? I don't know. I thought being unapologetic has always been being my true self, being authentic to myself. I don't think a lot of people can't take me because I have no filter. I speak my mind from a child. I was grounded most of my life because I was always speaking my mind. And just being genuinely who I am. And I don't apologize for it. Just even in my, as an author in the romance spaces, I'm very intentional when I tell people I write Black romance. I don't shy away from it. I don't care who the space is. I don't care where it is. I write Black romance. My characters are Black. I'm Black. That's what it is. If you don't want to read about Black people, don't think about books. And I don't apologize for it. And then what was the second part?
What is one truth that you had to accept about yourself to go into who you are today?
Okay, after everything I said, sometimes that you to your service. Like I've had situations where I'm unapologetic who I am. And it doesn't, I feel like most of the time it has very well, but there are situations where I'm not received well. And I just have to accept that that's what that is, and that wasn't the space that I was supposed to be in. So it doesn't always, everybody's not going to be able to receive you well. And if that's the case, then that's not the place to be.
Okay, that's a hard word. You want to explain it. That's a hard word to even say, and you want to explain it. But I'm normally a quiet person. She's more outgoing. She got that from her dad. But with me, I normally apologize because I feel that people don't know how to take you sometimes, especially when you're quiet, laid back type of individual, they think they can take advantage of you and all that. And I seem to sometimes apologize for myself being me. But I know that I really don't need to do that. But overall, what I look at is just being able to accept who I am and what I am and just keep going with it. The overall part of it, I think I had to do a lot of apologizing when I started working. I started working when I was 20 years old. I got married at 20. I'm originally from Arkansas, so I got married at the age of 20. My husband and I went to school together, and we packed up the same night and moved to Illinois with no family. And so we had to learn to grow together and learn to not be apologetic, to apologize for all the stuff that we did not have, and to learn to accept that. And then when I started to work, I started at something I was the first black woman ever hired at the building that I worked in. So that was really tough for me. I had to apologize in a lot of ways, and the reason is every employee I had was white, and they didn't like a young black woman, and I was, literally one, and you're managing, 30 and up employees. So I had a lot of growing to do, and when I say growing, I mean growing. So my husband, when I would go home and apologize to him about my attitude and all this stuff, he said, you go to work, and you do the best you can, or you quit that job and come home and stop complaining about it. He had no sympathy whatsoever. He said, you do or you go sit down. So from there I learned you have to keep doing what you need to do to grow. So I grew from that 20-year-old up until I was 58, that also insurance company, dealing with mainly men and then a lot of older women that were all not like me and did not like me. So every once in a while I would have to apologize because I'm not one to curse. I don't swear out of my mouth. So when I had an employee that really got to the brink of my nerves all the way from here down, you don't want to do that. Okay, so but God has allowed me to not have to apologize for who I am and what I've done. But I like the fact that I can accept the truth is I accept that. And then the other truth is I retired to take care of myself. I retired to travel and enjoy all that I have put forth and saved for. But God showed me that's not what He wanted me to do. So I have accepted that too.
I'm really thinking about this word, right? And it's hitting me in multiple ways right now, actually, because why do we need to be unapologetic in the first place? And you had given so many different examples of how other people are placing that on us, and then we choose to say, I'm sorry, or we choose to say, this isn't right, I'm not right, on and on. But I think it means to really own your power on who you are, 100%. And we're talking about truth, being truthful, and I would add that piece of you have to own your power. And back to the why, I think for me, and the second question, what is one truth you have to accept about yourself to grow into who you are today? I think for many of us it starts when we're very young and how we are raised, who we are raised around, and all those influences that come to us, good and bad, of course, right? No shade on anybody who raises us because they always do the best they can. And I think that's the whole forgiveness concept and whatnot, and we're stuck there. But the memoir that I literally just finished writing, and it took me, as I said, 10 years, it was a lot about unraveling those pieces that people had placed on me as a transracial adoptee, which means I was raised by white parents in the middle of nowhere on a farm in Kansas, and I often say I was the black bean in the bowl of rice. And that was my story, and I had to unravel all the things that they placed on top of me, all the assumptions, all the expectations of being raised in this white environment. for being a woman of color. And so my story really is unraveling all that, and when I think about being unapologetic, I do not apologize for any of that. It's my story, right? But I am who I am. God made one of me. God made one of each of us. I just find that to be such an amazing miracle that we are the only ones, the only ones. You're the only person sitting here with those beautiful green glasses on, right? That is who you are. And we each have that. And I think if we can celebrate that, we are no longer apologizing for anything because we are who we are. Beautiful, brown, and what other word do you want to put on there? Beautiful, brown, what do you think? Another B. Bold. Yeah, there's no reason to apologize for who we are. I'll be there. So listening to those ladies, wonderful ladies, as a woman who doesn't have children, right? I hear the mothers, right? I don't know if you're a mother, but just wisdom, right? And so as a woman who walked in the door, who didn't have children, sometimes I was misunderstood. Because people have projected what they believe I should be, or what I, could be doing. And so while I was listening, I said, I remember when people would say that, I was like, I don't apologize. So why do we have to name being unapologetic, right? I'm not about to apologize. And then I realized that the opposite of it was accepting the truth about who you are and what God created you to do. And I will say that it is not something that inherently I knew how to do. That I had to grow into this woman that I am today. And I always say that I'm growing every day to be the better version of myself from yesterday. Not from last week, not from 12 months ago, 12 years ago, it's from yesterday. So as long as I can just stand up every day and show up, that I have one more day, one more minute, one more second to really sit in my truth and be all that I was called to do, right? And when I was listening to them, I was saying to myself, like, unapologetic. I did struggle with saying sorry as a person. So I had to, because unapologetic says living in your truth, but it also doesn't say that we can't apologize for the behavior that we do. And I think that we misunderstand that unapologetic does not mean that you call someone out their name or you do certain things and not apologize for that. And I wanted to make sure we differentiate that because we misunderstand that term. I am who I am. This is what I do. Yeah, but you don't bring hurt or harm to someone because words are powerful. So I ground in the word of having the freedom to be able to be all that God has called me to be and not let others project what they think I should be doing.
Mic drop, I'm done. Unapologetic to me, that phrase came to me really strong as I was walking through one day, and I realized that every time I turn around that particular day, to my awareness, I was saying, I'm sorry. And I was talking to someone, they didn't understand what I said. I said, I'm sorry. I wasn't speaking loud enough for them. I said, I'm sorry. I'm walking through this space. I created something. I gave it to them. They felt a certain way. I said, I'm sorry. I walked into a meeting, I sat down, I started sharing information. Everybody was excited to hear. People had questions. I said, I'm sorry. And my boss looked at me and said, stop apologizing. As women, we are always apologizing. So I went back and I wrote about it, and I just pondered on it. And I realized something that each of them just spoke about, that we apologize because we're so worried about this, how we come across to other people. We apologize because we think about what other people think of us. Are we taking up too much space? Are we talking too much? Are we being too small? Are we being too big? Are we being too, and we're worried about other people's perceptions to the point that we're not being ourselves anymore. We're adjusting everywhere we go to be someone else, for everyone else. And then one day there's going to be a moment where you sit back and you're like, dang, who am I? So recently I gave that question to 3 different people. Who are you? And they were like, I'm a mother. Somebody else said, I'm a sister, I'm a teacher, I'm a school leader, I'm a musician. I was like, I didn't ask you what you do. I did not ask you who you are attached to. Who are you? And you strip everything else down. And you go back to being just that individual being like you came into the world. Who are you? It has taken each of them over 3 weeks to answer that question. And they still don't have an answer. One of them had to start with everything they are not, that people have placed on them. Before she can even begin to get to the pieces of, I am beautiful, I'm an artist, I'm a creative. Like, when I think about that unapologetic, it's being okay stepping into a space of being 1,000% who you are at your core. What brings you joy, what brings you excitement, what makes you proud, what makes you happy. That's being unapologetic. So one truth that I had to accept about myself to learn who I am today, I had to realize that I apologize too much. As a natural people pleaser, at any point in my life, I had to learn that I don't need to, the best way for me to please people is to be myself. Alright, so thinking about being unapologetic, our health tends to be the very last thing that we pour into as we pour into everyone else. So a part of that in life is being able to pour from your overflow and not your steam, and we tend to get to a steam point before we pause to take care of ourselves. So how has your relationship with your body evolved, and what are some natural habits that you had to learn to do to make sure that you're being the best version of you today? If you're not there yet, what would you like to do?
I am a work in progress. I say that to myself daily because I don't have it all figured out. And I say that health for me is less about doing, is practicing. And when I say practice is setting boundaries, saying yes more and no, and saying yes more and saying no less, right? And part of that, I think when I think about is rest is being okay with saying I'm not available. I can't make it. For me, that's my health. I can really make my calendar go from I can have an event every hour on the hour. And then I recognized that I started to ask myself, is this going to fill my cup? Is this going to take something from my cup, right? And when that happens, life can happen, whether it's doctor's appointments, I'm co-caregiver for my dad. So oftentimes, right, when I've got to pour unexpectedly, I can't go into certain rooms because I've given in a situation where that is my responsibility to make sure that my dad is just covered. I believe in making sure my parents get all the care that they need, and I advocate for them. But at the same time, I then have to say I can't make it because I need to focus on my loved one. And that takes practice because I still feel guilty that I am saying no because I had to take a few days off to work with my dad and make sure he's good. But I recognize that for me, that wasn't taught. It wasn't taught. So wellness was not a practice. It was go to the doctor, get checked, come home, what did the doctor say? You got your diagnosis, and that's it. But a practice of wellness has to be something that is a strategy as part of your day. Like, am I drinking enough water today? Did I affirm myself? Like, I have to remind myself of things that start to happen and say, did I do these things? Did I sit with myself? Did I journal? Did I express how I feel today? Right? All of these things are so important, and then we let people. One of my practices that I want to say that has really transformed my life in the last, like, probably like 9 years. I don't talk to anyone who needs something from me between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. I do not. You're not going to call me. You're not going to text. You can, but I'm not going to respond. And that is so freeing because I get to show up 100% at 9 o'clock with being healthy, with being bold, with being brave, with being all those things. And yeah, I may fall short, but for the most part, that is my practice. And I'm not, so when people want to call and say, can you, will you, can you send me some money? I don't even respond. At 9:15, good morning, how are you? Let me look into that. And that's it. I'm not going to allow, my best friend said this, your emergency, your poor planning is not an emergency in my life. And I realized that was triggering. I move because they move. I'm triggered because they move. No, absolutely not. And again, I'm going to say this, it's a practice. So I may not get it all the way as all practicing, right? My niece says, practice makes better, practice does not make perfect.
Perfectly perfect. Yes.
Every day.
I love it. We all are. So health. Woo. You know, I like to geek out on health. I don't think I've ever shared that with you, Sharnika. Like, I enjoy those concepts actually around health, and my body is my vessel. Really. Like, so I'm in this avatar, whatever you want to call it, here on this earth, right? I'm in this body right now. But to me, it's mind, body, and spirit is my health. And I look at that triad as, well, where am I lacking in certain areas? At what time am I lacking? And so I agree with you. I have, I set intentions. How do I want my morning to look? You know, very, very recently I was visiting my brother-in-law in Mexico. We were just talking about Taoism, and one thing he was sharing is like, you know, you get up in the morning, like I have my glass of water every night, I go to bed, I have my glass of water next to my bedstand, so I know I have to put my fluids in my body very first thing. So that reminds me, right? So I have these reminders, these hacks, if you will. But he said, do you drink it slow or do you gulp it down? Because your body has been resting for however many hours. I hope it's 7 or 8 at least. I would say that's important. Sleep is very important. But do you drink it slow or do you just gulp it down? Your body is not ready for that gulping down. And I'm like, ooh, I love that. So that's how I geek out. Like I enjoy those kind of little tweaks all the time. So at one point in my life, I had a yoga mat that would lay right beside my bed. It would remind me to stretch and to get up and move. So I believe very much so in movement. I believe what you put in your body comes back out, whether it's in your energy field, whether it's how you snap at somebody, did you just eat a donut? Like I think they're all connected. Serotonin in the gut so your gut health is so important with how you live your life. And I think oftentimes we separate those things. So gratitude is another really important health piece for me. How you get up in the morning. What do you say first thing in the morning? Are you opening your phone? Are you looking at the gossip of the last few hours, the news, your Facebook, whatever it may be? Or are you channeling inward and saying what you are grateful for? So I would, I say 3 or 4 or 10 maybe things. What am I grateful for today? And I also end my day that way as well. I like to walk. I love to swim in the ocean when I get the opportunity, and I do a lot of yoga because that's a very mindful practice. It's not only strength building, but it's mindful. So mind, body, and spirit, right? I think they are so linked, and sometimes we just say, oh, I gotta go to the gym. It's all about multiple things leading into your health. So again, I could geek out on this. It's funny because this is actually the first time I think I've ever spoke publicly about health because and it's fun to talk about because cells are always rejuvenating and what's the word I'm looking for? Renewing, yes. There's another word I'm looking for. Anyway, yes, they're always renewing. You got about 90 days or something. So think about that. Your body now is very different than it was just not that many days ago, depending on your intention. And I'll leave it with this concept of intention setting. Every day I set an intention of what do I want my day to look like. I believe in the concept of manifesting. So whether that be with your body, with your business, with your relationships, what do you have going on in your mind? Again, mind, body, and spirit. That's how I put the health.
Mind, body, and spirit. Thank you, ladies, very much. With health, I'm one of those that love to take care of my body as well. We all need to be, pleased with it. Sometimes we're not. Things happen, weight gain, loss, all these different things that hit us as we get older. I look at my mom, she used to tell me when I talk to her, every day something different about my body. So we just have to get ready to get used to that. But I love exercising. I've always been someone that I didn't grow up with that. So growing up in the South, you gotta work. You're not gonna be going through the exercise, and I exercise going out there in the yard once you have that free time, and that was a good thing. But now, when I was working, I would get up diligently every morning and run a mile to 2 miles, come home, get dressed, get my husband's lunch and everything was ready, and then head off to 8 miles away from where I live every day. And once I retired, my goal was to continue that. And I was able to do that until my grandchildren were born. And everything shifts. So you gotta, put things in perspective as to, where you are and what you have. But my goal and what I do now is every morning, I get up every morning at 4:30. I get up every morning at 4:30. And if I'm tired, I may get up at 5. But I get up at 4:30. I get on 2 different prayer lines, sometimes 3. Once I'm done with that, then I take care of myself without all of the other, prayers and things around. And I do my Bible studies. And I do challenges. I like to challenge myself with it. Can I read 21 days straight? Can I, study, now that Lent and Easter and all this? Do you want to do a challenge with that avenue? Just to rejuvenate myself and keep myself. That's my time, my personal time for me and my body, my soul. Because once my grandchildren get there, then I have none of that again. Okay, so my body shifts again. So then at night, closing that out. But normally, if they're with me at night, there's no closing that out. So I still get those hours in there to exercise if possible. Once they're at school and I have a free time, I gotta go downstairs. I gotta go outside. If I got the time, if not, I'm telling my mind to do that. Because I know I need to take care of that part of my body in order to survive, and anything else, and everything else to help inside. And I'm a pretty healthy individual. A lot of people say I'm 71 years old. I am healthy. I've never had any surgeries other than on my hands. I only been in the hospital to have my 3 babies and miscarriage and pregnancy. Those were all the things that happened to me. But I continue to try to work on making sure that my body is intact, health-wise. So I really move, I jump rope, I run, I jog, I ride the bike, I do the treadmill. So those are things that take my mind out of the avenue of what's going on in the world so that I can be a better person, spiritually, physically, and mentally. Because I thank God every day for allowing me to get up and do things. 71 years old, I can still go out there and run 5-6 miles a day. So I thank God for that, and I continue to look at that. I also know that that part of life is one thing, but then just being healthy and take care and watch over other individuals is another aspect of my life.
I don't know how I'm gonna follow my McCoy here. Because I am a former Division I track and field athlete. I went to college, I ran track, I was a 400-meter runner. I used to be able to run around that track in 54 seconds. Woo! Child, please. Today, it might take me a couple days.